In today's world, we're all simply doing our best to make a little more. And while we may give our all and we may do our very best and the more comes rolling in, for some that more is simply just not enough. So, what do we do when that happens? We borrow, we lend, we may even go to a Shylock. And is that the easiest way out? Is that the best way to solve a problem? Let's have a conversation with Justus Wabiera, the author of The Easiest Way Out, on Sheila Lives Out Loud next. Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. I'm Sheila Moniga. Thank you so much for finding this channel. As always, please click subscribe and hit notifications so you never miss an upload. And we are living out loud at the Sai Suites Apartment Hotel, luxury redefined. Please stop by and enjoy a stay away from home at technically home. And joining me today for a very pertinent conversation, especially in line with today's changing economic landscape, is Justus Wabiera. Justus, how are you?
I'm doing well, Sheila. Thank you so much for having me.
Very good to have you on the show. Thank you for making the time to be here. Now, you've written a book. It's called The Easiest Way Out.
Absolutely.
And we're not living in very easy economic and financial times.
Yeah, sure.
And for a lot of people, finding an extra hustle or even just finding a job to do is number one hard. If you've been lucky to find employment, you get your salary, but making that shilling last is even harder. And then all kinds of problems will come up because that's the very nature of life. And when you cannot borrow money from a bank, when you cannot get money from your friends because you owe them a lot of money, the next option is going to a Shylock. This is a very difficult book for many to want to read because they are sitting in that box, but it is a crucial book for everybody. So before we talk about the book, there's a reason why you wrote about this. So let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you so much for having me in your show. And as well, I appreciate for the great job that you're doing to our country and the wider population and people actually who are getting not only relief, but kind of educative platform that we actually provided across through all the episodes.
Thank you.
Through all the seasons. You've been consistent on that. That's a good job. So now, among other things that actually inspired me to come up with the book was personal experiences within the borrowing space. And as I was also struggling to define contentment and trying to define temperance and financial structures that actually can enable me personally avoid that normal behavior of living paycheck to the other paycheck. And sometimes you find like no matter how much you're being paid, sometimes that money don't even cross the bridge to the other side. So in this space, maybe putting aside not to discuss first of all the details of the book, my upbringing has a lot to do with my inspiration.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
From childhood, I've been brought up in Kayole. And you find like making it to certain levels from such slum environment, sometimes it's so hard. It requires a lot of serious choices. So I'm one among these people who, I know there might be more orphans in Kayole, probably even some who have been subjected even to harder life experience than I do. I'm lucky to and thankful to my God for allow me to get where I am today. But you find like having lost my parents at that level.
How old were you when you lost your parents?
I was should be around 12.
12. That's a very significant and young age.
11. Yes, around there. So first of all, that time I lost my dad. Yes, I used to play keyboard, and so I've been living on sympathy, on people just sympathizing with me and giving me one opportunity after another.
After your parents passed on, the church that you were fellowshipping at
Yeah.
took you under their umbrella.
Absolutely.
And hence the keyboard, so that
Yeah.
you could, you know, play in the church services.
Yeah,
You know, it
play
was
for
their
the
way
choir
of,
and,
yeah.
even though it was not because of the keyboard that they were supporting me, but I think that could have contributed.
When I think back about, you know, churches have a responsibility towards the next generation. And for many young people, when you go to church, the church takes over some form of guidance and leadership in that, and stewardship really, not so much leadership, but stewardship, in that they look at whatever talents you have and try to give you a base where those talents can grow. And I only say that because I started out as a singer, and I was singing in church, and the church allowed me that platform to work on my craft and get better. But moving forward and moving beyond church, you were able to study, and you said you have siblings.
Yeah,
How many
absolutely.
siblings do you have?
I have, actually there is, at the point when I lost my parents, we were 7 of us. I'm the elder brother, but we were 7 of us. So unfortunately, in an unfortunate event, I lost one of my brothers in Lenana School. That's not 2009. And there was a lot of headlines about it. But because we were so young, we didn't even understand the way the law is structured to actually cover that. So we had to choose between survival and what actually is good for us during that time. Someone now like myself, I had to leave school first. So now I never did Form 1 and I never did Form 2. I came to do Form 3 and Form 4 and passed my exams.
You're kidding.
Absolutely, I did that.
You sat down for KCSE without having going to Form 1 and Form 2.
Yeah.
And you still passed that exam.
I still passed. I did my best. I placed my best foot forward. And now, at that particular point, I understood that without this education, probably I might not be going anywhere.
Okay.
Yes.
So fast forward to you went in, you cleared your examination.
Yes, I
Did you
cleared
move
exams.
on to university?
Yes, I moved on to college. First of all, I was just, I had to look for means on how I can, first of all, generate myself to not only be marketable, but also dress in certain attitude that can make me employable. The moment I cleared Form 4, I started maneuvering around, could make speakers, I could draw, could probably draw you. I can remember I drew a few other people at a small fee. And amongst even making beats and trying to teach people how to play the piano and all such kind of things, that actually graduated me, given me something that I could actually call me.
So let's talk about getting into the workforce, you know, making that major check, because we all have those little jobs that we do after Form 4 until we get one break that opens the door to other possibilities.
Yeah. The moment I left Form 4, I did not go to college directly. I started the vibaruas, which I think is so common.
Yeah, everybody does odd jobs.
Like
I worked in a
does that.
laundry, I worked in my mother's butchery. It's a rite of passage.
Yes, so personally, I went to industrial area where you present your ID like this. So if you're picked, you're picked. I could go to the extent of doing mjengos, this kuchonga mawe, some such kind
Very
of things.
difficult jobs.
And those are very difficult jobs. So I divided my days. We have 7 days in a week. One is a Sabbath. You know, the 6 days that are left, I could go for these mjengos 3 days. Yeah, then the other 2, I go to look for job with my papers.
All right, so let's talk about a job and your papers. When did that happen?
So now that one happened in 2010 when I went to look for some formal employment somewhere there for G4S. When I presented my papers, somebody was interested to talk to my father.
Finally, a break came.
So they called me. What I knew is that I'm going for the soldier. And I was okay with it. But I said that if I'm going for the soldier, I'm going to be a soldier that they're going to say this is not a normal soldier.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what my confession was inside. So when I went inside there, they took me, but they never gave me soldier. They gave me other duties inside, which I still vowed that anything that you people are going to give me, to risk giving me, you're going to witness a different kind of work here that we've never seen before.
Right.
So I went there, they gave me courier for the courier services. So I was designated for several kind of banks and entities to serve within the CBD. It's kind of leading a small team there. Because of what I had confessed for myself, that whatever role that is going to be on my hands, I'm going to do it until I perfect that excellence, not to them, but to me.
Right.
So, yeah, so when I went there, I started performing my duties. It was as usual, working hard. And I befriended a few other friends from KCB. I think there's some guys who used to call for me to work for them. That's a normal office setup. During the weekends, when I'm not at work, I go there.
Your book talks about very difficult issues such as spending more than you're earning, living paycheck to paycheck.
Gotcha.
And for you, knowing that you'd already started with such difficulty and had experienced working very difficult jobs that hardly paid, how did that switch and transition happen?
As I'm working in some of these environments, I got myself to know that there was some interviews, and I was absorbed in National Bank now, where I've been serving until today. It's quite a number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I joined the National Bank, the salary that I was earning plus the overtimes and all those things that I've been selling around was kind of 4 times the salary that I'm earning there was now 4 times.
From all your hustles?
From all these hustles combined, the salary, whatever I was getting from Mama What, from what, 4 times. So the first time the salary came into the account, first of all, I did not believe it. That is looking like a phone number. Never believed that it is my salary. So I went and withdrew all of it first and see, is it money?
Just in case it's a mistake.
Is it money? Is it scam? Then I went and deposited the money back and withdrew what
you needed.
So within the first 3 months, that money was still a lot. Then after the 4th month, I don't know how much that money became so little, because, okay, in my discovery, the book is that I started living somebody else's life.
Okay, what do you mean, living somebody else's life? Because that's a very big statement. A very big statement. So let's be very specific. Whose life was this you were now living?
Yeah, it's somebody I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with this guy, but I've disowned this person through the book. Yeah?
Right.
This is what I started experiencing. Is that, you see, during those times when I used to only have one kind of dress code and one kind of dress identity, where you could identify that, hey, woman, it's not that guy. Because there is only one cloth that I always have. Eh?
Right.
So you easily could identify me. So now I have the resources to make that difference. So I started proving the world wrong instead of just living my life. Yeah. I bought a car. Yeah. As in, try to make things different.
There are things you now have stepped into.
Car, we went and made rims and some ngoma behind it.
Of course. Speakers.
Now, yeah, some good speakers. Yeah. And anytime I could appear somewhere, I could see the way guys, and I could see that, yeah, sure. You guys knew the other version. Now there's a new version in the house.
Right.
Yes, I would say that one was so misleading, because should I have some of the things that I'm achieving now, I could have done them then.
Right.
My ambitions were so misplaced.
But it happens.
I lost the track.
It happens.
It starting to finance other people's perception of me, instead
of
just working on actually what was my goal initially. What was my initial intention of all these struggles?
Okay, that expression, you are beginning to finance other people's perception of you. That is a very deep statement, an extremely toxic place to be, because you don't even realize it. But things started spiraling. So in as much as I have earned the respect, I am living my best life, you couldn't keep that up for very long. Yeah,
now, within the same story, you see now, I have a car. The car, there's some insurance that you'll have to pay annually. And there are, the vehicle is not a vehicle until it's moving out, and that's fuel. And there are, the moment you move with your car, even if you have a new car from DTW, you take one round, when you're coming back, you'll feel like, most especially if you're fascinated so much with vehicles, you feel like there's something not correct. Can it be checked? That is money. You see, so I started losing money to the extent that now I don't have any more. So I cannot even, that's so much that I used to see. So now I don't have any more. So if I'm, any time I'm paid, I
the
begin
bills.
by, anytime I'm paid, after, sometimes it's not like I even settle the bills first. I even settle the debts first.
So
Then we
it wasn't just that you were making this money, you were also beginning to borrow money as well.
Buying the car was out of an ambitious decision from a loan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so despite the fact that maybe I could have saved here and there, it was a collection of other facilities together that arose to that.
What hit you to wake you up? Because, you know, in as much as passion is a very incredible thing, it can keep you going for a long time. But at one point, when you wake up, you're not waking up to passion, because passion has left and you've got cold, hard reality. What was that reality for you?
First of all, the car was repossessed. Yes. After the car was repossessed, I was unable completely to keep that studio running as well.
Okay.
Yes, then it now heated deep into our home budget.
Right.
Yeah. So we are now living just hand to mouth. It started to become so short-tempered and affecting peace at home.
In this book, The Easiest Way Out, you've talked about borrowing, and you've talked about debt. And debt is not easy, because I know people who have been auctioned not once, not twice. It almost feels like they're in this vicious cycle of you're not learning your lesson, or you're just getting the worst breaks in life. So let's talk a little bit about living beyond your means and debts and Shylocks.
Living beyond your means sometimes is kind of, it's a latent procedure that sometimes you don't instantly realize. Yeah, but there are symptoms for you that you can actually hook up and identify that now I'm beginning to live beyond my means. Impulse buying is just, but that's the common one, whereby something was not within budget, but you just choose to follow that direction, and then you do not take, because the moment you choose to impulse buy something that was not within the budget, the next step that should follow is a serious sacrifice to ensure that this is taken care of. Otherwise, you are living a hole. So most of the time, we find like that imbalance is actually what contributes to that living beyond means. Then living beyond means automatically invite the debt. So you find like it's hand in glove. So borrowing is not bad. Like borrowing is not bad, because most of empires are built out of
exactly.
They're
loans. You need financial assistance for that kind of business to succeed. You need venture capitalists, for instance. You need financial assistance from banks as well. Yeah,
so borrowing, and even all withstanding, I still don't have the audacity to say borrowing is bad, because I'm earning my living from borrowers today.
Right, and it's fine. But then again, you borrowed from the bank because it's going to come back. You're not borrowing so that you go on a holiday. That's not coming back.
Yes. If at all the money is being borrowed just to be spent, then you're left behind to service the debt. Then that one might not be so much within the confines of wisdom. Now, another question that also comes in is a Shylock. And a Shylock is still kind of a person who actually is just taking advantage of other people's desire to borrow. But they are not looking at that person who is kind of wealth. They're looking at the injured spaces amongst those who actually were earning.
Right, very vulnerable.
Yes, the vulnerable ones.
Yeah.
And who are these vulnerable? These vulnerable are the extravagants. Those actually who are not ready or not conscious to listen to their financial signals. That now you're pushing us too far, you're pushing too far, and you should take certain measures to ensure that you're within the bracket. So they take advantage of such kind of personalities, and the moment they take hold of you, the system of recovery is not within the predictable pathway that is also even provided for by the regulator, because they're not regulated. I've taken my time to study the Shylock, to understand the bounds and their means of
and
operation,
how they operate,
and how they market their product.
Right.
Because now they're not licensed, they cannot come to the public domain and say that I'm there. I serve from that other office. You can find me there. In case you miss me there, find me there. These are our sales representatives. These are our books for audit.
Yeah.
They don't do that. Yeah, but they apply other mechanisms in ensuring that they get their prey.
Right.
Word of mouth. If at all you are injured financially, and you sort it out, that means that somebody else who is injured financially will come to you and ask you. Then that's the way Shylock is actually marketing.
Yeah, it's a very silent
but
layer.
very brilliant.
In today's age, financial literacy is extremely important for all of us. And it's great to know that there are resources available, not just for an older generation, but a young generation that's coming into the workforce now, that's coming into an age of social media where perception matters more than actual fact. So where is this book available? Because clearly everybody needs to read it.
Actually, very soon we are releasing the soft copy. It will also be available on Kindle. But we're also releasing it on textbook centers and all the other libraries.
Right.
Whereby members can be, anybody who is interested in pursuing it can be able to read.
Okay.
But you just touched on the young people, and I think I've been fascinated by the way you've made it, that the young people are getting into debts. Now, the way the young people today are practicing the irresponsible borrowing is not like in antiquity where you have to have the actual money. Today there are mobile lendings and such like. But what is it that making young people to borrow? It's browsing. So people are most of them are on the screen. That being that they cannot afford being there because of the cost of data, they start practicing borrowing. Understand? And you see now you're borrowing to do what? To just be online. To yes. Then there's another thing that also within the same frameworks of the young people, the young person today, is the issue of betting.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereby you find the young person today has been so disillusioned to the extent that they are willing to buy their hopes, and because the betting companies are providing that hope at a very cheap price, that just put 100 shillings, there is hope for you to get 20 million.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. They are buying hope.
So if you look at it in the whole sense, they are just, it's kind of a, in fact, they are not, people are not betting.
Yeah,
those
they're
people are
buying
not betting.
hope.
People are investing in the future through
Right.
purchase of that hope. And I'm normally hesitant to talk about maybe what some other part of the clergy does. The same, still the sale of the same hope. Say that I don't have audacity in talking. I don't have specialty.
No, but it's true. I've got a lecturer who I work with very, very well, and he also used to say the same thing too. The church, a lot of what the church is doing today is not necessarily solving practical issues of faith and religion, but rather just packaging and selling hope. Justus Wabiera, thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. We look forward to being part of your journey as you launch your book.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and the door remains open. Now, check out my social media sites for more details on this book, The Easiest Way Out. Get your copy and share it with somebody. Share it especially with a member of the new generation. Kizazi kipya, mutasoma mupende msipende. This is the way to spend your money, and most importantly, to save your money, because you're not just here to YOLO, you're also here to enjoy life. Sindio? Thank you so much as always for catching up with me on this channel. Please remember to click subscribe and hit notifications, and if this conversation has touched you, post a comment below and share it with somebody else. We'll really be grateful if you can do that, and we look forward to catching up with you again next week for another incredible episode on Sheila Lives Out Loud. We have been at Sai Suites Apartment Hotel, luxury redefined. Please come out and enjoy it for yourself. You know, I'll never send you to somewhere very dodgy. I will always send you to nowhere but the best of the best. Thanks for watching, and all that you do, live out loud. Bye for now.